Merry Christmas, everybody. Welcome to our last episode for 2020. I'm AllyChat.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
I think we ought to have a vote on who's got the best hat.
I think that's you, Claude.
I agree.
No, I'm just the craziest person with a hat on the screen.
I would debate that. I definitely.
Good morning, everybody.
Good.
Welcome to the last show of the year. We've got Jim Tedesco with us today. I don't know if you guys have been watching his channel or not, but Jim's been going through some frustrating times after a move during the summer, which I thought was pretty ambitious moving during the pandemic, but but he did it, and he's been having a lot of trouble trying to get space for his trains. So anyway, welcome, Jim. Thanks.
Welcome, Jim.
Thanks, guys.
You're very brave.
Well, brave or crazy, one or the other.
Yeah.
There's a fine line there, you know that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so excuse me. I'm gonna start questions off with the same one I always ask everybody: is how'd you get started in the hobby?
How did I get started? Well, you know, I'm 61 years old. I actually got started when I was 17, and I just got married. We were looking for hobbies, my ex-wife and I picked HO trains. So I built a small layout, 4x8 sheet of plywood. And I was doing pretty good, but it was starting to get expensive. Next thing you know, my daughter was conceived. So I'm thinking, well, you know, I got to make a choice between a hobby and my kids. So I sold everything off because, you know, I wound up having 4 children, 2 daughters and 2 sons. And I let the hobby go for many, many years. Well, 13 years ago, I had a stroke, put me out of the workforce. I'm permanently disabled, not real bad, but bad enough. So I decided to get back in the hobby. So here I am, 13 years later. And of course, I was doing pretty good. I had a nice layout going on down in Naples, and I decided it was time to get out of Naples. So I sold the house, and I came up here to Seaford. And now I'm starting all over again. Believe me, it's not an easy task starting over.
Yeah, that's true. Well, and I knew you were building the shed, and I was watching your video on that, and I thought, man, that's going to be nice to have that much room. It's kind of like what Sparky did, you know, built the whole building just for his layout. And
that was the plan, but I hit a lot of snags. It's funny, but it's not. You want me to tell you the story? I'll try and make it not too crazy long. But
Sure. I don't know if everybody's seen your channel or not.
I have to confess I haven't.
Yeah, well, you're missing out on all kinds of fun, believe me.
I'm gonna have to check.
I think I'm on video 127 now, but of course I'm mixing rail. This place I bought up here, the railroad tracks are right behind my house, about 60 foot away.
Really?
Oh yeah, it's a short line for the U.S. Sugar. Every day comes through.
That's
and
cool.
Chances are depending how long we're on here, you may even hear the horns as the train goes by in the morning. I love it. That's great having right behind you. But I'm on almost 2 acres of land, so room wasn't an issue. At least I thought. So at the house, first thing I did, I got to put a shed up. And my plan was a 20 by 30. Probably a metal one because that was about the cheapest way to go. So I had a platform built in the backyard. Well, right before the shed was to get here, My next door neighbor comes in before he says, how'd you get a variance to build back there? What are you talking about? He says, well, you're on railroad property. Huh? So, turns out I built my platform on the railroad's property and not mine. My backyard is tiny. It goes back maybe 12 foot behind the house. And the rest of the land, there's a lot of land back there, but it's all train. Apparently, the way they made the train derailed, they wanted to make sure the house was far enough away to not get hit by any of the errant cars, which, of course, is a good thing. So I'm going, well, that's just great. Well, I can't take a chance putting a building on somebody else's land. So I spent $4,000 on this platform. And that was money thrown away. I tried to get them to move it to the side of the house, where most of my land is, going that way. And they said, oh, no, it'd be too hard to move. And they really did. It was pretty solid. They said, all right, well, we're going to have to build another one. This was after I got a survey. And backtrack it just a second. I should have gotten a survey to begin with. Could have saved myself a ton of money in aggravation. But I went along with what the original owner and the real estate lady told me. Oh, yeah, that's all your land back there. But I obviously didn't know what they were talking about. So I had a second platform built on the side. The main house, there's a small guest house, and then the rest is just land back there. So I decided to put it next to the guest house. New platform cost me $5,000 this time because the price of wood went through the roof. The guy really cut me a deal. He wanted $8,000. I'm going, I'm not paying $8,000 for a floor. So had it built. Called up the shed company. He said, all right, I got a new platform. Get her down here. 2 days before they're to deliver it, he says, can you send me a picture of this? I said, sure. So a picture. A couple hours later, he calls me. He says, I don't feel comfortable putting the shed on that. What do you mean you don't feel comfortable? He says, I just don't feel comfortable. I said, well, that's not a good reason. There has to be a real reason why you won't put the shed on this platform. He said, no, I just don't feel comfortable. Well, now I'm thinking, all right, I just spent $9,000 on platforms, and this guy's telling me he can't build one. I can't use the language on here that I used that day. I'm just not happy. Believe me, it took a lot of effort not to shoot this guy. But I mean, I wouldn't have shot him for real, but you know what I'm saying. But anyway. So I went back to the shed company where I bought it from. I said, look, they won't put their shed up on the platform. He said, I don't know why. I said, I don't know why either. He said, he's not comfortable. He said, well, let me call the company up. I'll find out. So he calls them later that day. He said, no, they won't build it. They won't tell us why. I said, I don't even know these people, so it can't be me. I said, what am I supposed to do? He said, I don't know. So I went to another company. Amazon Sheds, not related to Amazon.com. And they had one that they would bring in two halves and assemble it on premises. They wanted $15,000 for it, which I thought was kind of pricey, but it's all wood. At this point, I don't care. So I told the guy, I said, look, when you come down to my property, look at what I got going there, and make sure you can build this thing for me. No problem. Comes by that afternoon. Oh, you got a platform. I said, yeah, no kidding. I told you that this morning. We can't build on that. Ours have our own platform. I said, why didn't you tell me that this morning? I'm telling you, it's scary up here. I think the average IQ is right around 90. Maybe. And not everybody's like that, but it seems like the majority of them. That's kind of a backwards kick down, but that's not too bad. People are nice. They're just not too bright. So I sent him, of course, then he said, I bought a small 8x12 shed from the first company, Cook Sheds, that actually sits in the front of where I'm going to put the new shed. So he says, do you get a permit for it? I said, I don't need a permit for that because it's a portable structure. Oh, no, you got to have a permit. I said, no, I don't. I checked. Oh, well, I can't get a permit for the new one anyway, even if you took up the platform. I said, you know what? I'll get back to you. So I went back to Cook Sheds, which is the original one that I dealt with to begin with. The guy's name's Don. I said, Don, what's going on here? Why is it so hard for me to get a building? You know, well, no. He said, we can't get you a 20 by 30, but we can get you a 12 by 32. I said, fine, just send that down. So that's what I'm waiting on now. It's 12 foot wide by 32 foot long.
That's huge.
And of course, it took 8 to 10 weeks to build it. Now, it was actually, they finished construction November 16th. So it's built, it's ready to go. So I was kind of expecting it any time, right? And as I called Don, where's my shed? I don't know. Let me call them. He called me back later on that day. He says, you're not going to believe this. I don't know if I want to hear this. So, hey, Container Man, no, God is not against me, but sometimes I wonder. He said they had 2 of their drivers. The only 2 drivers they had were both out with COVID. Oh, you got to be kidding me. He said, no. He said, they got no way to get you the shed. I said, all right, so what are we looking at? He said, well, the week of the 28th of December. I said, fine. You know. So that's where we're at now. I'm waiting for this thing, and my God, I hope it gets here soon because I'm going nuts.
Oh.
Literally, it's been almost 6 months since I've played with my trains. You know, we had to tear down the old layout back in Naples before he sold the house, boxed up everything. So I have not run trains since June. And I'm going stir crazy because, you know, that's my hobby. I have nothing else I can really do, you know. But it is what it is, I guess.
Well, keep us updated.
Yeah.
You need to have the cameras rolling when they drive up with your shed because I want.
Oh, I plan on it.
They can't
The whole thing will be video.
And
Down the road, you know.
speaking of updates, I went to your link. I'm subscribed to you, but no notifications. So go if I suggest people go back and see your subscriptions and check if you're going to get notifications.
Nobody gets notified anymore.
Yeah, I mean YouTube's changing stuff all over the place.
I'm subscribed to. I think I got 253 people. I'm subscribed channels. I'm subscribed to, and I was getting regular, you know, notifications, and all of a sudden they stopped.
Yeah.
So I had to actually go physically hunt down some of the more common. Like I like to go see Elmer, Dave Thurber, Crooked River, Nathan. You know, I have to go find these guys because I'm not getting notifications anymore.
Yeah, so I'm subscribed to you. So I'll have to go back and look at your videos.
Yeah, because like I said, I'm up to. I just put out number 127 a couple days ago. It was a real panic video, and I'm getting ready to throw another one. I'll probably start doing it later today. He said I'm going to start kind of pointless a little bit, but I'm going to drag everything out of the closet that I just recently bought, logos and all that, put them on the table, and show them off. Actually, I can't demonstrate them because I got nothing to demonstrate them on. but I bought a lot of stuff. I mean, you know, it's crazy. I spent probably a couple $1,000 already. But, well, you know what it is, and of course, it's the way. Thank God I had the money because normally when a sale comes up, I don't have the money and I have to pass on it. And I got some other stuff. I do a lot with scale trains. And I just bought two locomotives from them. Don't ask me the names because I don't remember, but they're GP38s. And they're the ones I'm actually going to take and model the real one outside. So I bought 2 GP38s and I'm going to repaint them and number them in all 9 yards to make them look like the ones out there. But I bought them; they were $99 each, DCC and sound.
Wow.
You know, which was a 50% off deal, I think. So that's, you know, the operator series. It isn't the good one, but still, that price I couldn't. I said I got to buy them.
Yeah.
So, and then of course the track. I bought 300 foot of track from Yankee Dabbler, and that was a little over $400. But you know, there's a track shortage right now, from what I understand. Fortunately, I use code 100. Not too many people use code 100. They're all using 83.
Mhm.
So the 100 is still available.
Hmm.
And it hasn't really got up in price. So I always get some before everybody decides that that's all they can get. They'll clean them out. By the time I'm ready to go to layout, I won't be able to buy track.
Yeah, well, I know one of the deals with the track shortage is Pico over in UK is completely shut down right now, so they're not putting out anything. The only thing you'll find in Pico is what's already out on the market, or YouTube, someplace like, not YouTube, but eBay or someplace like that, where you can get a second hand. And I don't use Pico, but I've heard that from several people that they've been shut down.
All my turnouts are Pico. I like the Pico turnouts, but the rest of my track is all Atlas. But of course, Atlas comes out of China. With all the things going on with China right now, I'm a little leery,
Yeah. Well, most of the stuff that we deal with is coming out of China, one way or another.
Well, that's true. But, I don't know. I stopped buying as much as I can buy directly from China.
Yeah.
Because the last few things I tried to buy, I couldn't get the stuff.
Yeah.
I paid for it, and I'm waiting 2 months down the road. I still haven't gotten it. Why did it take 2 months to get a product in the mail? I mean, what are they walking it over here?
It's on that slow boat from China.
Yeah, it's real slow, like a rowboat. But I
don't know.
I got that up, but I stopped dealing with China directly anyway. Because, like I said, I got things cheap. I bought a $1,000 phone for $300. But I don't have good feelings with China. I think. I honestly, not to get political, but for a second, but I think they're going to invade us at some point. They're going to try to.
Yeah, they won't have to. They keep doing what they're doing.
Well, we're doing everything we can to make them mad, and of course they're doing whatever they're doing, and it's going to deteriorate quickly. I think. So, and that scares me too, because in our hobby, most of our stuff comes out of China.
Yeah.
Even the scale trains, their manufacturing base is out of China. So what happens when they stop selling stuff over there? It's not going to be good.
Yeah. Well, I've got 2 locomotives pre-ordered, have had for 2.5 years from Blackstone.
Wow.
New engines that they were supposed to have out a couple of years ago, and they still haven't. They're not even starting on them yet, as far as I know. They're still trying to find somebody to do them over there. So I don't know if they'll ever get done.
Well, probably not.
But I've gotten most of my stuff, probably 95% of what I have ready to go on my layout or that's on there now, I've bought off eBay. Just be patient and find the price I want and go that way. And now I was looking through stuff yesterday, and I've got more stuff than I'll ever put on the layout. And I'll turn around and put it back on eBay when it comes time. But I've got choices now that I don't have to go to the store and buy it. And I'm glad now with all the stuff, like I said, that's happening. There's going to be less and less stuff available. I mean, I was at the hobby shop yesterday. It's a hobby town, so I say hobby shop with with parameters.
Hobby shop. Hobby
But
shop.
I went over where they have the glues and paint, and they only had maybe a quarter of the paint, model paint that they normally have. That's how low they were on paint.
Wow.
And I would have thought paint, that kind of stuff was made here, but.
I know the testers, they're having issues too. I heard
Testers,
a month ago that they're discontinuing a lot.
well, Testers was bought out, I think.
Was it?
I think so. I heard that somewhere. I don't remember where, but somebody in the chat might know. But I heard somewhere that Testers had been bought out.
Not surprising. I know I've heard recently that you can't get the tester dull code anymore. It's simply non-existent.
Yeah.
That's one of the few things that I use from testers. Most of the paints I use are for the airbrush, so I can plenty of that all over the place. But so I'm saying it's going to get bad out there if we can't get the stuff. I mean, I can make a lot of things. I have a 3D printer that I bought a couple of years back, and I do make some of my own things. I'm probably going to be making a lot more by the looks of it. Well, no, because and not only that, even if you can get the stuff, the prices have gone through the roof.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I'm looking at, I don't have any gondolas, So I was going to get some. And I cannot understand why a gondola costs $15 more than a boxcar when there's less material.
Yeah.
Or even flat cars. Flat cars cost more than a boxcar does.
Well, and if you go into HON3, they go up again.
Well, that's why I never went into the.
And it's got less material than the HO gondola's got in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really weird how some of that stuff in the same scale will be so different in price. And it's got to be with tooling times and stuff. When they're geared up to tool a certain kind.
I was just going to say, that because the materials to mold them is minuscule compared to the tooling. So yeah. It goes, and the smaller it gets. And I've got a machinist buddy that used to work for Microchains, and the smaller it gets, the better you got to be in the tooling. So. That's that. I think that might have something to do with it.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm sure. I mean, I know the tooling has a lot to do with it because when Blackstone makes a run of something and then they stop the run, and then when that sells out, boy, you get on eBay and it just starts going through the roof. I mean, they're getting almost $100 for a regular boxcar, Blackstone boxcar.
Wow.
Usually not quite that much, but some of them will go. Depends on which one it is, if it's been weathered or not, and that kind of thing. But they'll all be $50 and up, and that's for one box car. That's this isn't a Blackstone, but that size, which is not very big. Here, I'm holding it next to me. You can see how small it is. But because there's not many out there, it's supply and demand, and the virus has caused everybody to turn to their hobbies, and it's not just model railroading. It's people that paint, people that do crafts of sorts. You go to Hobby Lobby and a lot of the craft stuff's gone because they're just buying it faster than they can replace it because they got nothing else to do but sit at home and paint or do their hobby anyway. But I know a lot of that's one thing that's benefited from this is the hobby industry because if they can stay up on top of it.
Is drinking a hobby?
It is for me.
Okay, well then we're okay, and that's not made in China, so we're good.
Exactly.
Anyway,
mine's made in Colorado and Kentucky.
Hey, I want to give hey, look at this. You too can have one of these. Shout out to Claude.
Oh,
look at that, man.
Oh, cool.
I don't even have one of those yet.
Really?
Yeah, I thought I ordered one, but I must not have because my shirts came, but the mug did not.
I opened that. It's like, that is so cool. It matches the shirt.
Yeah. Anyway,
anybody got any questions?
Yeah, I was going to say, chat got any questions for Jim?
There's been a lot of comments just looking back about a lot of the stuff that you guys have been talking about. Stuff like when you were talking about why a gondola and a flat cost more, and it comes down to like P87 says, it's all in the details. Gondolas and flats have more places to details because of exposure, like you can see the inside compared to a boxcar. You can see everything. There's other stuff here, like the answer to who brought out testers. Both Steve Ace from PSAP and Joe Rader have pointed out that the testers is now Rust-Oleum, which I didn't know. So that's an interesting little fact.
Well, Rust-Oleum's a good product.
It is. I'm surprised they bought out testers. I wonder why.
I don't know. In
There are,
fact, I know where I heard about testers was Toy Man. I watch him, Dale,
Okay.
over in Utah, and he was talking about having to do some, and he's modeling 1/20th or 1/20th scale, so big, like G scale stuff for the yard, and he was talking about not being able to get dull coat anymore. And so I told him, I said, well, try Rust-Oleum's, matte paint is pretty good. That's what I've used in the past to dull down a glossy paint. So he was going to try that, but that if they took over testers, that's still a good product. I don't know if they can bring back the model size paints is the only thing. That's what hurts, Because if you got to have 5 or 6 different colors, you don't want to have to go buy spray cans.
Mhm.
That would just be not very good.
True.
there's also a lot of political comments in here. Container Man, I must warn you, try not to get too pointing the finger at specific people because we might get in trouble with YouTube. So, yeah, just calm down a little bit there, Roy. So we were a little bit political earlier. Maybe we should try and keep the topic to the hobby. Just me being Miss Grumpy Boots for a little bit. I'm sorry, guys.
That's all right. I know that myself. Is certain words you just can't use on YouTube anymore.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I don't know that you can calm Roy down, though.
Well, I'll tell you, does anybody know? We're still trying to figure out why the price of wood shot up in price. And that brought about a lot of changes for me, too. The new layout, I was going to be using a lot more wood. And because of the price, I really can't do that anymore. It's have other material. Like my benchwork, for example. I built my benchwork out of 2x4s and 1/2 inch plywood or quarter inch at the very least. Well, 2x4s have gone from $2 to like $12 or whatever it is. That's crazy. Oh yeah, nuts. So benchwork out of 2x4s isn't going to happen anymore. So I decided to go with the 1x3s, which is still relatively inexpensive in comparison. So I've had to change the way I'm going to do my bench work. I'm still going to use the 1/4 inch plywood because it's lightweight. It's not cheap, but it is lightweight and easier to use. And of course, I put the 1 inch foam on top of it, so rigidity isn't a problem.
Yeah.
But
strength.
I just, I don't know if it's because I know there was a lot of fires out in the West Coast, California, Oregon, Washington State. But the reality is most of our lumber comes from the Midwest. So they can't really use that as a good excuse for raising the prices. So it could just be greed. I don't know.
Yeah.
And it seemed to happen overnight. 1 minute, like I said, a 2x4 $1.83, and then the next night it's $8, $9, $10.
Yeah.
I don't get it. But it's made it tough for the people in our hobby because we do use a lot of wood.
Well, I've seen that happen when there's been like big hurricanes hit the coast. I've seen sheetrock go from used to be you could buy a 4x8 piece of 1/2 inch sheetrock for $4 and something.
Oh yeah.
And now it's almost, well, I haven't priced it here just lately, but last time I priced it, it was over $15 a sheet.
Wow.
Yeah,
Crazy.
lumber's been crazy for a long time.
But on the lumber end of it, of course, I've got tools, because I do home repair when I'm not messing around and not doing something else. But I built a lot of my bench work with 1x4s on the outside or 1x3s on the outside, and then I bought a lot of 1x4 and ripped them, and a lot of the interior bracing of the layout is 1x2, and it works just fine. We tend to overbuild our bench work.
What I did back in Naples, I said you could have drove a car over it and it would have been fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I told people I was going to do 1 by 3. They said, well, that may not be. So I said, look, I'm not going to be walking on the things.
Yeah. It's holding a model train and some plaster. Well, you've seen my mountain. There's 50 pounds of plaster on that.
Yeah, it's not much.
It's still not gone anywhere. I mean, it's sitting on 2x2 legs, and it's basically a 1x4 square base, and then everything comes up off of that. And it's just, in fact, in one of my videos, I put a picture of when they were building the Matterhorn in Disneyland, because it was all the steel sticking up, kind of looked like my inside of my mountain, and I did it basically like they did. You build the frame on the inside and then put the shell over the top of it. And it's not nearly as heavy as what it looks like it would be. So it doesn't take a whole lot of framing to keep a model train in place.
No,
Right,
unless you're using cement for mountains.
Well, I've seen that too. Yeah, I wouldn't want to use some real cement for a model railroad. Unless I was outside, there's guardrail, but I could see that.
I wouldn't want to climb underneath that bench.
We'll just blame it on heat.
Yeah, there we go.
Speaking
in the chat.
Yeah,
he's here now.
He just popped in.
That's
It's all his fault.
We got Sparky in here too.
Hey, Sparky, long time no see.
Speaking of blaming heat and using cement, if you want to connect yourself into part of the Back on Track gang, don't forget to get yourself some merchandise. Still got pillows, we've got hats now, not these kind of hats, but proper hats. We've got t-shirts, we've still got mugs, we've still got everything. Don't forget, link in the description below. I have fixed the link, so you can actually get to the site now. I figured out why it's not going across when I copy and paste it, so that's fixed. So you're welcome to jump on there. Don't forget to also like and subscribe and hit that bell icon. Ding! That's the last one I'm going to do for 2020. I just had to do it.
No. Where'd you get that blue Christmas tree, Allison?
Actually, it's a multicolored Christmas tree, but it's come up blue because I put blue lights on it.
You're going to have a blue Christmas.
Blue now.
reminds me of the old one. Steve and Jim probably remember these. Remember when they came out with the aluminum Christmas tree with the rotating colored light?
Oh, yeah, I remember that. We have one.
That's what that reminds me of.
Is that the one with the disc that had the red and the yellow?
Yeah, 4 different colors on it. It just interchanged colors. Oh, yeah. Good memories.
Well, unplug it.
And now they're computerized.
There we go. Can you see the colors?
Yeah, I can see 3 anyway.
Well, there's green, there's blue, and there's purple.
Yep.
Well, there's 2 different shades of purple. But now it's blue.
Oh, so that is a regular tree in it. Because see, looking on my phone on the, it's so small it looked like a cardboard cutout of a tree.
Oh, that's a real tree.
There, that's much better. Yeah, I can see now. It is multicolored, isn't it?
They're 2 trees. So, shouldn't flavor it now. Now, don't stay. Tree.
So Jim, being down in Florida, do you have a lot of problem with expansion contraction going on with the?
Really, because because for health reasons, I can't have any real heat in the house. I've got to keep my temperatures right around 75, 78. So for the most part, no, I don't. I think if you weren't constantly climate controlled, you would have expansion and contraction issues. Because like right now, especially up here in Sebring, at the moment, I think it's 55 degrees, which for Florida is kind of cool. It got down to the 40s last night. But on some days, it'll get up in the 80s during the day and then drop down in the 50s, 60s at night. The weather's crazy down here.
What part of Florida are you in?
Central Florida right now. I'm just below Tampa.
Okay.
So it's a small town, low population, which is nice. That's why I left Naples. Naples was getting too congested.
Okay. Yeah, I got family in Panama City. That's why I was curious.
That's way up there.
Well, I was thinking more of maybe humidity issues, because I know in the summertime it can get very humid there.
South of here, back in Naples, humidity was an issue. I mean, you'd see 85, 90% humidity daily. I mean, you'd go outside, you'd be dripping.
Yeah.
Here it doesn't seem to be much of a problem. It's a little cooler up here, as the humidity's a lot less. The humidity's down around 50, 60%, which isn't bad. You know when they do the weather, the temperature, they say, it's 70 degrees, but it feels like 58, whatever. And the feels like, I think, is the real temperature anyway. I don't know what game they're playing here, but. Well, no, because look, if it feels like 58, it must be 58, right? I mean, I'm old school, like I said. This is the way I look at things, but I'm not seeing as much of a differential here in Sebring as I did in Naples.
Yeah.
Naples, you say, oh, it's 88 degrees, but it feels like 102.
Yeah.
Well, if it feels like 102, it's probably 102. We're here, if they say the same temperatures, if it's 88 degrees, they'll say, well, it feels like 89. So we don't have as much humidity here as we did south of here. Now, Naples is roughly 112 miles south of where I'm at. I don't routinely go back down there for doctors and stuff for the moment. So it's really just a hop, skip, and a jump, drive down there. But you wouldn't think 100 miles would make that much difference, but it really does weather-wise.
Yeah.
So,
humidity here can change quite a bit. That's we rarely get down below, say, 40%, but we can get up into 80 and 90% in the summertime or the springtime.
I'll pass on that.
Get that kind of moisture up, but. I was curious as to whether or not it was bothering you. I haven't noticed any on mine. I'm sure it's moved some, but I haven't been running a lot of trains because I've been doing so much scenery and I've got everything laying on my layout, so I can't run trains to really tell if anything's messing up. But that's one thing I've always worried about being up, because mine's upstairs in an upstairs room, and like in the wintertime, we don't even turn the heat on up there because we get so much heat goes up the stairway, and keeps it fairly warm up there. So I don't have to run heat there, but then in summertime we run more air conditioning upstairs, because then that air comes downstairs, and the downstairs doesn't work as hard. So it's, we've got that shift going on, but we try to keep it about the same temperature year round, and that helps.
Actually, that leads me to a question, Claude, about expansion and contraction with you hand laying your track. Which do you have more of an issue with the expansion and contraction, with hand laid track or say, flex track that you do? Is it the same?
Yeah, it's about the same. The plastic ties on the flex track, the bits of flex track that I've used, they don't make any difference, because your track pretty much moves. The rails are going to move inside of that anyway, and no more than they actually expand. You'd never notice it on the ties. And then on the hand laid track, that rail, if it wasn't attached at each end, you could take that rail and slide it through the spikes.
Okay.
Easier than you could than flex track. Flex tracks actually holds the rail tighter than when you do it by hand.
So you might have a bigger issue with them, I guess.
It's still the material that's expanding. It's not the substrate that's normally going to cause the problem. And I solder a lot of mine together. Now, not all of it, but a lot of it I solder together. So it's even longer pieces. But I haven't noticed any problems yet. But there again, I haven't run a lot of trains on mine yet.
Okay.
To where I might notice it. I have noticed a couple of my turnouts, curved turnouts, on the narrow gauge part, the parts that I've been testing. I've got one that I'm probably going to have to desolder one of the points that goes up into the guardrail toward the frog and put more curve in it, because it's I noticed I was running my test engine through there the other day. It wouldn't go through without derailing, and that's what it was it's kind of hard to explain without having it here in front of me, but the curve had come out of the point rail and gotten flat. So even when the points were shifted over for the train to come through, it was binding up the flange between those two and jumping the track. I don't know if that's a contraction expansion problem or not, but I did notice that when I was looking at it, trying to figure out why it wasn't working. And not all of my turnouts, the curve turnouts, look like that. So my guess is I just didn't get enough curve in that when I built it. I put it in the jig too straight, and then of course when it came out of the jig, it wanted to pop back to where it was.
I see.
So that's why I tell you to put a little bow in those when you're doing them on a curve turnout. And I just messed up, but it'll be easy enough to fix. I just got to get up there and fix it.
Yeah.
But that's the only thing I've noticed, and I probably may find some more later. But I haven't noticed any bowing or flexing in my track at all, as far as expansion would cause.
Now, Jim, do you have a track plan for your future layout? Do you know what you're going to build when your shed's done?
I have an idea. I mean, I had to redo everything because I had an original track plan for the 10 or the 20 by 30. That I had to throw away because now I'm running with 12 by 32. And it altered the plan significantly because I don't have the width. Now I'm going to try and use, excuse me. I'm going to use wider turns, 30s. So that means I need a bigger loop to make turnaround. So I was looking at just over 5 foot diameter for the 30-degree radius turns. Well, when you got 12 foot wide, and I can only run two basic tables, one on each side, and I'm only going to have 2 foot between there to walk between after I get my turnaround, because I have endless track to some degree, and it'll keep going around. So my original plan was I was going to have the 2 ends and then one down the middle. Can't do that now. So I've got the tables laid out the way I want on it. Excuse me. On the plan. I'm still not sure where I'm going to put everything yet. And I want to do more valleys, mountains. My last layout was pretty straightforward. This one I want to do a little differently. So, and this is going to be the last time. This is, once again, in the last 13 years, I've done, 7 layouts?
Wow.
Changed scale twice. I started out with end scale. And I like the end scale because you can do so much more in a shorter amount of room. These big sausage fingers, as Elmer likes to put it, well around. It's hard for me to work with them. Plus, the fact that, like I said, I do have some stroke damage. So the end scale was really out of the question. I had already spent a couple of $1,000s on end scale. I had an 8 by 12 layout in my room back in Naples. Tore it down, sold everything. Didn't lose any money, amazingly. And went over to HO. I like the HO. The HO is like the perfect scale. I would love to do O gauge. You seen the price of O gauge lately?
Yes, I have.
You have to be a millionaire to get into that one. But they want $1,000 for a locomotive. It's crazy.
Just talk to the guys at Cross Anchors. They'll tell you all about it.
Yeah, right? So,
Yeah.
And of course, you need a lot more room, too. I mean, you almost need a mansion to put a decent sized layout in. So, HO is what I picked, and I love the HO. I have no issues with it. But I started out, I built a center table in the room. I was working in the room was 11 foot by 14 foot. I started out with a center table, walking around the ends. That was problematic because I couldn't reach the middle. So I tore it down. Now, meanwhile, I'm getting these layouts basically about 85% done. And I decide, no, I don't like this. Tore it down, decided to build the table against the walls. Well, I don't always do things the smart way. Instead of building actual benchwork, I use tables. Plastic fold-up tables. Well, I had plywood on top of them, but, the thing is, it was fine. But once again, I wasn't thinking. My arms are about, maybe 2 foot long, 2.5 foot long. I've got 3.5, 4 foot deep table. Well, I can't reach the inside. Of course, I put the track against the wall. I can't even reach them. So if I derail, I don't know when I'm going to get a chair out and try and not break anything and go grab the engine and train. It's crazy. So I tore that. I'm serious. I've got pictures of everything, but so many different layouts, and I could just. And I'll tell you, this is good advice for anybody breaking into the hobby. Take your time. Yeah. Seriously, come up with a solid track plan before you lay the first piece of track. I did not do that. And I paid dear, but thank God I didn't really lose any money. I lost some, but not a lot. Track. Because I could never really reuse the track after I glued it down. And of course, the first time I put track down, I nailed it down. That was a mistake. I wasn't using the foam. So the last layout I did, which was really the best one I put up at that point, is I had the 1/4 inch plywood, 1 inch foam on top. I used the rubberized road bed, no cork, just rubber, which I tend to like that over the cork. I don't know what the real difference is. And then I glued the track down to that. Much better system, quieter, ran smoother, had less problems. So my wife, she's ready to, pour her hair out. She goes, how many times are you going to do this? I'm going, it's really getting old. I mean, really half the fun of the layout is building it. Once you get to a point, there's a lot of guys, I can't really say for sure, but it seems like, they've had their layouts up a while, and they're like, yeah, this is not really fun anymore. They tear them down and start over. Because that's most of the fun. I mean, most of the hobby is building and
just the creating it.
Right, exactly.
I mean, once you get down where you're just watching the train go around, it's like, yeah, that's going to get old pretty quick. But I'm looking, I mean, realistically, I'm thinking, my timeline is kind of long, because like I said, because of my infirmity, I don't do things as quick as I used to. So once I get the shed here, I've got to insulate it, put inner walls into the ceiling. I'm figuring that's going to take a good 6 months. Because the materials I have to use are really heavy. I have to use drywall now instead of plywood on the walls. I was going to use 1/4 inch plywood on the walls, but that's really cost prohibitive. Drywall is still cheap. So I get that done there. They're going to switch on that. Of course, that includes electricity too. I have to put electricity in the thing. I've got a mini split air conditioning heating unit to put in there. I've got to put that in. So figure 6 months before I'm ready to start bench work. Probably another good month for bench work would be on the safe side. And then
you might try. You might look into OSB instead of plywood for the walls. It'll run cheaper.
Well, it's a little cheaper, but not much. The OSB is still expensive.
Yeah.
And all the materials, and I feel really the cheapest way to go right now is the drywall. So I can still get drywall. I think it's $9 and change for 4x8 sheet. And it's not too hard to work with. So that was the main thing. Of course, insulation is going to cost me, well, for that size unit, roughly $700 in insulation to do the R20. They said I got to do all this stuff myself. I can't afford to pay anybody else any more money because, and it's funny because there's not a lot of money up here, but everybody thinks that they're worth gold. No, seriously. I mean, I have a handyman who did a lot of work for me that I couldn't do. Now, before I had a stroke, this is what I did. I was a handyman. I did pretty much everything but roofing. Electrical, plumbing, carpentry, you name it, concrete work, tile work. I did all of it. I'm really good at it. But since the stroke, like I said, I'm limited by, I don't have the physical capacity to handle heavy things like I used to. And of course, my dexterity is not as great as it used to be. But so I hired out some things. I can't believe the prices they're getting. I was a painter by trade too. When I had my own painting business, about 20, 25 years ago, 30 years ago. I know it's been a while. But prices have gone up since then. I had the inside of this house painted. Now, this is a 2,000 square foot house. And as you can see, there's a lot of wood everywhere. But to do the living room, one bedroom, a bathroom, and 2 hallways cost me $3,000.
Oh,
Man.
And it's like, you've got to be, I mean, that's what they get.
yeah.
But the reality is, if I could have done it myself, it would have cost me about $200 materials, you know.
Yeah.
But it was a pretty entailed job. Some of the wood had to be taken down because you really couldn't paint around it, you know. But I mean, again, it was expensive. So I said, well, I don't care. I made a good profit on my house down in Naples when I sold it. And that's the only reason I could do any of this stuff. We put almost $60,000 in this house. And beautiful house, but the guy who owned it is subletting it basically a bunch of homeless people. And I'm being polite here. I'm not going to get too crazy, but they tore up the place pretty good. So we had to replace a lot of things. I mean, windows, doors. Every door in the house had been kicked in. I don't know if it was for police rage, or they were trying to get to the drug. I don't know what the deal was, but we had to replace doors and cases. And a $2,000 refrigerator was 3-door fancy French door fridge. And that's cool. It's almost a selling point. The night we moved in, it died. The next day I had to go out and spend a night. I spent $1,300 on a new fridge. I didn't buy a 3-door because that's crazy money. So we spent a lot of money on the house. But I had it, so it wasn't that big of a deal. And I got really a good price on the house. And I wanted land, and that was the only thing I didn't have in Naples because we were on single lot Naples, and you couldn't do anything down there. And there was no way I could even build up a decent layout because the only room I had was at 11 by 14. And maybe I'm spoiled, I don't know, but I outgrew it very quickly. So here, it's all about if I got the money, I could do whatever I want.
Yeah.
But yeah, the time I was going to.
You just thought you had land though there.
Well, yeah, I didn't count on the back there, but going that way, I got tons of land. I mean, it was almost 2 acres.
Yeah.
And we're actually zoned agriculture out here. So if I want to have farm, I mean, I would, but if I wanted to have farm animals, I can do pretty much whatever I want. And there's not many. They've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I got 5 neighbors. And they're like me. They just do what you want as long as you don't bother me. We don't care.
Yeah. Best kind of neighbors to have.
Absolutely. Yeah, they're nice. I met them all. Actually, the one down on the end of the street, I'm at the end of the cul-de-sac, and the one at the beginning of the street, he's a Highland County Sheriff. Nice guy. It's always good to have a cop in your yard, you know.
Yeah. Well, Jim, we travel a lot, and I was thinking if I ever got down to Florida, I might drop by and see you. But after hearing your stories, no, I'm not coming to see you.
Oh, it's not that bad.
I don't think I want to take the chance.
It's nice. But you do have to get used to the people being a little lower IQ. And they really are. I mean,
Yeah.
some people are just like, really, how did you get this far in life? But they're nice people. They're pleasant people. I haven't really run into anybody that I disliked. You know, we're down in Naples. There are a lot of people I just didn't like because they're arrogant, full of themselves, you know, just crazy. Here, people are more humble. They're just not real smart. You know. It's kind of a good thing in some ways, but you have to be careful because some of them are just smart enough to try and, you know, swindle you out of something. So you really have to be on your toes. But so I've had some adventures, believe me, already with other businesses. But, you know, it is what it is. I'm not worried about it. Yeah, but the area is beautiful. It really is.
Yeah.
It's sort of not completely out in the middle of nowhere, but it's rural. And you can look out there. There's wildlife running around. There's deer. There's hogs. We had turkeys running. As a matter of fact, one of my videos, I think it was the last one I put up, or the one before it. I put at the end. I put a shot of it. There was about 12 turkeys running around. And that was right before Thanksgiving. After Thanksgiving, I haven't seen them, so somebody already got them.
Somebody got them, huh?
And I was going to get one because, I mean, they're right. I mean, they were coming in my yard. We were feeding them, you know.
Yeah.
And I said, you know, there was a couple that were probably around 12, 14 pounds.
Yeah.
The next year, I'm going to get one.
I'll tell you, we got no shortage of turkeys here. Man.
There's a lot of stuff here, but people will hunt them down quickly, so you got to be quick if you see something. We had a sow and we had seven little hogs with her, and they were here. They were coming in the yard too. They were around for about a month, and all of a sudden they're gone. So we figure somebody got them and ate them, you know, or at least raised them so that before they could. The piglets were small, but the sow was probably pushing close to, I'd say 150 pounds.
Yeah.
So
on that note, we're just about running out of time here. I just want to let everyone know there's a quick update on traveling box car. I believe Jason was the last one to have the HO one, so he's just been given the message and the okay to send it on to its next location. So we will track it and see how far it gets from there. Otherwise, unless anyone's got any further comments to add.
No, Sparky just said he hopes your neighbors don't watch YouTube. I was thinking the same thing.
People, I don't think they do, but yeah, there's no young people around here. I can see this is kind of a retirement town. You know, I love it though. My wife, she's still iffy on it. She's kind of used to bigger cities, and me, I wanted to get away from the bigger cities. So, once I get the shed going and get my trains going, I'm going to have a blast. I'll be content for the rest of my life.
I'll be looking forward to seeing you get started on it.
We all will be.
Well, thanks for joining us, Jim.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us today.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Sure. Anytime.
And Merry Christmas to you, Jim, and everyone else in chat who's still watching. Merry Christmas to you, Steve. Merry Christmas to you, Claude.
Thank you. Likewise.
Good to see you all.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And here's to hoping next year is much, much better for everybody.
Yeah. It could be any worse. Well, yeah, it could.
We look forward to seeing everyone back here. Not next week, because next week is Boxing Day, but in the new year, I believe it's the 2nd. Let me just double check that for you guys. I believe the 2nd will be back.
Yeah, I think it's the 2nd.
Yeah.
Correct. Saturday, the 2nd of January 2021 will be the first episode for the new year. So we look forward to seeing everyone back here. Same time, same place.
Bring your hangovers and come watch us Saturday morning.
Your hangover.
Very good.
Well, actually, you'll have a day to recover before the show, but
yeah.
When you get towards our age, 30 and up, hangovers tend to last 2 or 3 days anyway.
Say at least.
Or longer.
All right.
All right.
That's it. So that's all we've got time for.
Thanks
Farewell.
for hanging out.
Christmas. Happy holidays for everybody else who doesn't celebrate Christmas. And Happy New Year.
Later.
Bye now.
Bye.
See you later. Merry Christmas, all.
Bye.